The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false.
New documents released, what we now know as the Trump administration doubles down on their claims that President Obama was behind the so-called Russia hoax.
There is no sentence that can bring true justice for this kind of evil.
The final sentence for Brian Kohberger handed out while some family members say they lost out on true justice. The survivors of the quadruple murder make their voices heard for the first time. And then the White House releases their new plan of action on winning the AI race. But what does research say about the concerns, especially for teens who rely on the emerging tech? This is the National News Desk, America's News. Now, I'm Dee Dee Gatton. We are glad you are here on a very busy day. Tonight, we have team coverage of the White House, major trade deals announced, and new documents released by National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard in the probe of former President Barack Obama. We've got you covered right here at the National News Desk. But first, breaking news out of Cleveland, Ohio. A live look at the skyline there right now as we learn 2 police officers are in critical condition about 45 minutes west of the city. We understand another officer received non-life-threatening injuries when all 3 were ambushed this afternoon by a gunman with a high-powered rifle. The suspect has been confirmed dead. This, of course, is a developing story. Stay with us as we work to get the very latest on the conditions of these officers and learn more about what led up to the shooting. We will have coverage for you both on air and online at thenationaldesk.com. A new trade deal with Japan is done. President Trump announcing the agreement with Japan includes 15% tariffs on Japanese imports to the United States. It's one of only a handful of negotiated deals to come out of the White House in the past few months. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has the details.
The U.S.-Japanese trade relationship has quickly gone from this letter from President Trump hitting Japan with unilateral 25% tariffs to a bilateral agreement. President Trump announcing the long-awaited trade deal on social media Tuesday night, saying, Japan will invest at my direction $550 billion into the United States, which will receive 90% of the profits. Japanese products coming into the U.S. will be taxed at 15%. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says he came up with the concept for these Japanese investments in which the country will act as a banker.
They will finance the project and then we'll give it to an operator who'll run it, and the profits will be split 90% to the taxpayers of the United States of America and 10% to the Japanese. So they basically bought down their tariff rate.
The president says this deal also means Japan's market will be more open to American food products and cars. This at a time when American automakers are paying steep prices for the president's new tariffs. In their latest quarterly earnings, Stellantis reports spending $350 million in tariff fees in the first half of the year. And General Motors, $1.1 billion just in the second quarter. Opening Japan's market to American vehicles doesn't mean Japanese consumers will start buying them.
It doesn't solve the basic mismatch on fuel efficiency and on size of the vehicles, which is going to remain.
The president also announcing trade deals with the Philippines and Indonesia this week. This deal with Japan is arguably the most significant since he launched his trade war. Agreements still need to be reached with larger trading partners like China, the European Union, Canada, and Mexico. But Japan's deal could be a sign of things to come.
I think it is a bellwether in that we're going to see tariff rates of 15% or more on the countries that are remaining.
For trading partners that have gotten letters like Japan did, new double-digit tariffs, many far exceeding 15%, kick in August 1st. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
The director of the National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, declassified new documents that she says show former President Obama being behind an intelligence report he knew was using false information. National correspondent Matt Gelka has more on what she had to say at today's White House press briefing and what's in these documents.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released a series of infographics on social media Wednesday and also declassified a House intelligence report from September of 2020. She says they show former President Obama and his administration participated in, quote, the most egregious weaponization and politicization of intelligence in American history, when intelligence agencies concluded Russia tried to meddle in the 2016 election and preferred Donald Trump be the winner.
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. The expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people.
Gabbard claims the documents expose how the Obama administration manufactured the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that they knew was false, and the president has seized on the claims.
The leader of the gang was President Obama. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason.
An Obama spokesperson responded to the accusations directly, saying in part on Tuesday these bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. The House report concludes that some of the work of the intelligence community was rushed, and the assessment that Russian President Vladimir Putin preferred Trump win didn't meet the standard of other findings by using unreliable intelligence. It also said that directives from then-President Obama were unusual. The House report, however, agreed with most of the intelligence findings, including that Russia attempted cyber influence operations heading into the 2016 election, Putin wanted to undermine faith in the elections, and also had compromising information on then-candidate Hillary Clinton, but held back on releasing it. The Senate Intel Committee released its own bipartisan report in 2020 that affirmed Russia attempted to meddle in the 2016 election. Current Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was then a Republican senator from Florida, was on that committee.
Any indication, Matt, of what kind of potential criminal penalties anyone may be facing?
Yeah, treason is a very serious charge and an extreme charge to levy against someone, including a former president. The other element in all of this, though, is that the Supreme Court ruled presidents have broad immunity for acts done in office, something determined because of a Donald Trump case relating to January 6th. When asked about that broad immunity and potential penalties, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said it's now in the hands of the Justice Department.
Live from Washington, D.C., Matt Gelka, thank you so much for that breakdown. Grand jury transcripts related to Jeffrey Epstein will remain sealed. A federal judge in Florida has denied the Justice Department's request to release the transcripts from the investigation into the late financier and sex offender, according to multiple reports. This comes as the House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell for a deposition on August 11th. While many Republicans are seeking more answers about Epstein's potential client list, House Speaker Mike Johnson is pumping the brakes on getting credible information from a convicted sex trafficker.
I will note the obvious concern, the caveat that Chairman Comer and I and everyone has, that could she be counted on to tell the truth? Is she a credible witness? I mean, this is a person who's been sentenced to many, many years in prison for terrible, unspeakable conspiratorial acts.
Bryan Kohberger has been sentenced to life in prison. Kohberger did not speak in court at the hearing after admitting earlier this month to stabbing and killing 4 University of Idaho students in their sleep in a home off campus in 2022. The 4 victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were ages 20 and 21 years old. Their family members got to address the killer for the first time. 2 roommates in the rental home survived the attack.
I hated and still hate that they are gone, but for some reason, I am still here and I got to live. I still think about this every day. Why me? Why did I get to live and not them?
What happened that night changed everything. Because of him, 4 beautiful, genuine, compassionate people were taken from this world for no reason.
Just gut-wrenching to hear from those families, former roommates today. Dr. Salvador Plasencia pleads guilty to 4 counts of distributing ketamine in connection with the death of late actor Matthew Perry. This comes after prosecutors agreed to drop 3 additional charges of distributing ketamine and 2 charges of falsifying documents. Plasencia's lawyer stressed he was not treating Perry when he died. Yasmin Sanga, who prosecutors prosecutors allege was a dealer and supplier of the drugs, has pleaded not guilty and faces a trial starting next month. New York State police are asking drivers to avoid a section of Interstate 87 today as troopers continue to investigate the homicide of 9-year-old Melina Fratolin. Preliminary autopsy results indicate she died by asphyxia due to drowning. Her father, Luciano, is charged with murder, suspected of staging his daughter's disappearance to cover up her death. A federal judge in Maryland is ordering the Trump administration to give 3 days of notice if ICE plans to start deportation proceedings against Kilmar Abrego Garcia if he's released from jail. The judge is also ordering the restoration of the federal supervision that enabled Abrego Garcia to live and work in Maryland. The Salvadoran national is awaiting trial on human smuggling charges. A federal judge in Tennessee is considering letting him out of jail. The Trump administration has reinstated DNA testing of children who come to the border in groups of people, according to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
We are DNA testing them to ensure that they actually belong together, that they are family members when they claim that. When we're out doing enforcement operations as well.
Noem made the comment at a CPAC summit against human trafficking today, adding that they found and relocated 10,000 children. She says the big, beautiful bill says sponsors with unaccompanied minors must get criminal background checks. DHS launched a national child welfare initiative in February, saying there was widespread abuse out of alien children in the care of improperly vetted sponsors. FEMA wasn't perfect, but the agency did a good job responding to the deadly floods in Texas. That is according to Acting Administrator David Richardson. This after ABC News reported the head of FEMA's Urban Search and Rescue Branch resigned over delays, pointing to a new policy requiring all spending over $100,000 to be approved by DHS Secretary Noem. Richardson describes how the agency fared.
I can't see anything that we did wrong, and I think the president and the secretary have acknowledged that, and so is Governor Abbott, by saying how well we did.
And Richardson says FEMA should return to a model of taking a backseat to state governments. Before the flooding, President Trump announced plans to phase out FEMA, but he now says it needs to be reformed. The death toll in Texas has risen to at least 136. Today, lawmakers in Texas are kicking off an intense 30-day special session that's focusing in part on investigating the floods. They're planning to debate legislation for disaster prevention, early warning systems, emergency coordination, and recovery funding. They have until mid-August to pass legislation, and another hearing is expected in Kerrville, where lawmakers can hear from residents. It is official. The U.S. State Department is investigating Harvard University's authority to sponsor foreign exchange visas. Harvard says the school is committed to continuing to comply with the applicable exchange visitor program regulations. Secretary Marco Rubio says the visa sponsorship is a privilege, and sponsors whose conduct tarnishes our nation's interests will lose that privilege. Last month, a federal judge blocked the administration's attempt to revoke Harvard's ability to sponsor foreign students. Columbia University has suspended or expelled nearly 80 students who participated in pro-Palestinian protests at Butler Library this year, or similar events on campus last year. Other students among those sanctioned had their degrees revoked. The university has been negotiating with the Trump administration to unfreeze more than $400 million of federal research funding that has been canceled. Last week, school officials told the New York Times a deal could be announced as early as this week. It is unclear if these sanctions are a part of any deal. Coming up, how the government plans to win the AI race, plus why there's growing concern about teens' use of the technology. Then, the new feature Uber is adding specifically for women in response to safety concerns from users. Then the payment a Washington woman, is getting in a COVID vaccine mandate lawsuit settlement. We'll be right back. As we come back on the air, President Trump just finished giving the keynote address at an artificial intelligence summit. Here's a live look at the president right here signing executive orders. Now, the administration has a new action plan aimed at helping America win the AI race with 90 policy actions planned for the coming months. These focus on areas like exporting American AI, rapidly building data centers, removing regulations, and preventing ideological bias. Concern about teens' use of artificial intelligence is growing. A new Common Sense Media study found 72% of teens have used AI companions, that is, software designed to provide digital friendship. Over half of teens use AI companions regularly. 31% of them say talking to AI companions is at least as satisfying as talking to real friends. Uber is launching a feature allowing women drivers and riders to match with other women for trips as rideshare companies have faced concerns from women over safety. The feature is called Women Preferences, and Uber is piloting it in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Detroit in the coming weeks. It doesn't guarantee a rider's preference, but boosts the chances of the pairing. Health alert in South Carolina as officials confirm that one child has died after coming into contact with a brain-eating amoeba while swimming in a freshwater river or lake. Health officials have not identified which body of water it was. We know this infection happens when water containing the amoeba enters the body through the nose and travels to the brain.
Any body of lake, river, pond, hot springs that you could come into contact with in the state of South Carolina will have this amoeba in it. For most people who come in contact with this type of amoeba, it causes no harm whatsoever.
The CDC says while infections nationwide are rare, for those infected, death occurs in about 95% of cases. The amoeba, known as Naegleria fowleri, has also been found in swimming pools, splash pads, hoses, and tap water that don't have enough chlorine. You cannot get it from swallowing water, only from water with the amoeba going up your nose. The Department of Health and Human Services now recommends thimerosal be removed from all flu shots in the U.S. Today, Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. signed last month's recommendation from a CDC advisory committee. The mercury-based preservative is no longer in most vaccines, but is still in some influenza vaccines. Kennedy says this will reduce unnecessary mercury exposure. A disturbing new study links concentrated toxins to some of the most popular vaping devices in America. The National News Desk, Lisa Fletcher reports.
Inside this California lab, simulated smoking.
These devices are activated through vacuum,
exposing a serious toxic secret in e-cigarettes or vapes. What UC Davis professor Brett Poulin and his team found is evidence that in some ways vaping poses health risks far beyond those of smoking tobacco.
The metals get more and more concentrated as you use the device.
Toxic heavy metals like lead, nickel, and antimony linked to cancer, respiratory illness, and neurological damage.
You can see different metallic components that are in contact with the e-liquid. On the left is a device that does not have a lead-based component that we found, and you can see that it's a clear color. On the right is the virgin e-liquid of a device that contained lead alloys, and you can see clearly it almost looks like motor oil.
Vaporized and entering the lungs of users. In one worst-case scenario, the lead concentration Poulin detected from 1 day of smoking a particular e-cigarette was equivalent to 19 packs of traditional cigarettes.
Consistently, as the devices got older, they became essentially more toxic.
A chilling new risk in a vaping market flooded with products that have no safety oversight. Keep in mind, the FDA has only authorized 39 vaping products designed to help smokers quit. None of those pose these safety hazards. But those approved devices make up less than 1% of the total vaping device market.
All of the top-selling disposable devices are illicit. They're not legally sold, but they are the top devices.
We've seen little or no enforcement of laws intended to protect the public from these illegal vapes. Take a look at our video from major vaping expos we attended this year in Miami and Nashville. The aisles were packed with vaping products which are illegal under federal law, on display and ready to ship to shops all over the country. Which brings us back to Brett and his California lab. He hopes his new research will open regulators' eyes and encourage them to crack down on the dangerous devices that are flooding the U.S. market.
Coming up, the Pride performance that led Florida's Attorney General to subpoena the Vice Mayor of Vero Beach. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We are taking the pulse of America, and we start in Washington, where a woman has received a huge settlement in a COVID vaccine mandate lawsuit.
Marina Shindrook believed in herself after what she describes as a deep betrayal. The city terminated this former Seattle 911 police communications supervisor over the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. In August of 2021, when the city's vaccine mandate was announced, this single mother of three said she applied for and received religious exemption. Then, 5 weeks later, the 14-year SPD veteran was told she didn't comply with the mandate. She said she was told she was unable to perform her job duties safely without being a hazard to other people.
Tomorrow's the last day. That's it. It was surreal.
She slapped the city with a lawsuit. She's relieved it's over, says it's been a constant ongoing legal struggle for nearly 4 years, but she insists the $875,000 settlement isn't about the money.
A Pride celebration now under scrutiny for what Attorney General James Uthmeier says was a sexualized performance in front of children. This video was taken the night of the Pride Tea Dance at Kilted Mermaid, a wine bar owned by Vero Beach Vice Mayor Linda Moore. The event was marketed on social media to all ages. This video shows performers in drag near what appears to be two children, one of them with their face covered.
This is wrong, this is not right, and she will be held accountable.
They like to be mad about something, and this was a very easy issue for them to be mad about.
The law the Florida Attorney General is citing was passed in 2023, restricting children from attending adult live performances, including drag shows.
When you hear the Southwick Zoo, you probably think of animals like these. But a popular attraction had some people off the ground way longer than expected. More than 30 passengers were stuck on the Zoo Skyfari ride Monday afternoon, a lift that presents an aerial view of the animals and other exhibits.
Stopped briefly, restarted, stopped briefly again, restarted, and then it stopped. And when it did get to be an hour, I did call 911. And they actually surprisingly knew nothing about what was going on. But we were there over 2 hours.
But management at the zoo has a different timeline. In a statement, they blame an unexpected mechanical issue that required the ride to stop and say it was just under an hour.
Coming up, the city that's moved into the top spot for the worst traffic in the country. We'll be right back after this. The nation's capital has dethroned Los Angeles for the worst traffic. Just what we want to hear as we wrap up the day and drive home tonight. Well, the new Consumer Affairs report shows the average commute time is 33.4 minutes for the Washington, D.C. area, the highest in the country. But L.A. does have the longest weekday congestion, averaging 7 hours and 51 minutes. The cities with the worst traffic after D.C. and L.A. are Miami, San Francisco, and Atlanta. Coming up later tonight at 10, more subpoenas are issued by the House of Representatives seeking information from the Jeffrey Epstein files. We'll have the latest on that tonight at 10. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. Thanks for watching. See you tonight.